Everyone, my name is Catherine. I'll be your webinar facilitator today. I want to welcome you and thank you for joining us for the Make Your Company the #1 option for consumers searching for your products and services in the cities you are willing to serve webinar. As a brief reminder, all lines are currently on mute to prevent background noise. If you have questions during the presentation, please type them into your chat box. We'll be happy to answer at the end of the webinar. It is my pleasure, as always, to welcome Jennifer Bagley, CEO of CI Web Group. As you know, CI Web Group is one of our preferred partners. Jennifer, you may now begin the webinar.
Thank you so much, Ms. Catherine. I appreciate it. And thanks to all of you taking time out of your busy schedules to join us for today's webinar. The idea of this is to essentially pull back from your business and take a moment to focus on your business instead of working in your business. All right, you guys, with that, today we're going to be talking a little bit about kind of the infrastructure and the process of what's needed in order to make sure you, your company, your products and services are an option to those consumers looking for what it is that you want to sell, where you're willing to serve, where they live or work and happen to need your services. The idea of marketing, it really boils down to what do you want to sell? Where do you want to sell it? Are you an option? Are you visible? Can they convert? And do you look the best when they get there? That's essentially what this is about. And it's not just marketing. This is more than marketing. This is if you need to hire new staff, if you need to be the best recruiting company, if you need to be more operationally efficient, if you need to build the best customer service programs, all of these things are tied together. And essentially, I'm going to drill into the why behind this. Is as an entrepreneur, you guys at some point decided you were going to give up a full-time job, a paycheck and insurance and benefits and whatever else came with that in order to start a company. The goal of every entrepreneur is the same. They want more time, more money, more freedom. I am an entrepreneur and I understand that deeply. However, the challenge is it doesn't feel like that's what they've created. And typically that comes from not having a roadmap, not having a real accurate plan, kind of throwing stuff against the wall, listening to the wrong people give the wrong advice, and then seeing if the things will work. And that challenge, and you guys are in a position, I'm just getting ready. I'm sitting here in Vegas. I'm sitting on the 50th floor of the Elara in Las Vegas, getting ready for the EGIA conference, the Epic 2019 conference. And there's going to be a whole group of vendors and consultants and people giving advice. There's going to be a lot of dealers giving advice to each other. There's 1,000 dealers here this week. And the challenge is it's not always great advice. It's not always it's not always ideal. It's not always what works. And it's hard as an entrepreneur to be able to sift through the information, to be able to identify, what truly takes a business to the next step, what truly makes a business more profitable, what truly gives an entrepreneur more freedom, the ability to spend time with their family, the ability to travel. If I was to tell you that creating a goal of taking a month or 2 months or 3 months off during the middle of summer or winter will help you get closer to your goals, most audiences, when I make that recommendation, kind of have a borderline psychotic laugh. It's very entertaining because it doesn't seem realistic. But the reality is when you have a roadmap and you have advice from the right people on the right things, when you implement the right things in the right order at the right time, when you do more of what's working, when you stop doing what's not working, and when you always have a mindset of what's next, what am I not doing yet that I need to be doing? That's when businesses make progress. It's very hard for a company or an entrepreneur or a sales rep that happens to work for a vendor or another company to give you advice on what you should do with their business, because technically they can only bring you to where they've achieved success in their own lives, in their own business, in their own company, where you guys might want to go further than that. So I hope that this is very helpful in bringing us through the process to make sure that we understand the infrastructure and what's necessary in order to make this happen. Not all of this presentation is going to be fun to hear. And I will tell you, it's as exciting in some instances as if I had to learn about the inner workings of an air conditioning system as a female who doesn't necessarily know the inner workings or details of all the mechanics behind an air conditioning system. That's how you guys essentially are when it comes to the inner workings, the infrastructure, and the technology sitting behind a website, for example, or your overall digital marketing strategy. So while not fun, very, very necessary. All right. Infrastructure. This is the first and foremost. This is usually something that is the first mistake out of the gate. You guys see a commercial online for a $10 a month website. Your buddy at church says he can build a website for you. Your office manager says her boyfriend builds websites. Your spouse says, I can do it. I watched a couple YouTube videos. Your kid just graduated from marketing school, and all of these things that are natural progression of entrepreneurs, but they're also natural progression of failing entrepreneurs, are the starting point. And my business coach used to give me two different things. He said, one is, if I could get you to do what you already know you should, you'd consider me a genius, right? Like, yeah, of course, if I already know what I should do, having clarity. But secondly, it is, if I told you that was going to produce a negative result, if I told you that was not a good path, if I told you that was going to hurt or it was going to prevent you from being successful, would you avoid the road bump if you knew it was there? Would you not hit that pothole? And that's interesting because a lot of entrepreneurs, they like to take the tail whooping themselves sometimes instead of learn from others. But these are the things that are considerations. These are the road bumps that, if they're not done first and if they're not done correctly, can hurt. They can hurt an entrepreneur. So, and the challenge is these are the things that are deep. I'm going to move back in here. These are deep, deep, deep below the water. If this glacier represents the surface, and if only human beings are the only ones that are rolling in on a boat across the top and they can only see what's above the ocean, infrastructure, as far as the technology and the things that I'm going to cover first, these are things really deep behind the scenes. And this is where a lot of the bad advice comes from. This comes from subject matter experts that maybe they have an advertising degree, or maybe they know about print, or maybe they know a little bit about the surface, the things that are visible, but they don't understand. They're not coders, they're not developers, they're not server engineers, they're not security experts. They haven't worked on, they're not certified as Google webmasters. They don't know about Google Data Studio or any of these technical things that I myself have learned from my father and my cousins and my family, who's a group of coders and developers. And so I've grown up in this industry or in this environment. And that makes a big difference. So when it comes to infrastructure, these are things that they're not going to be visible to you as things you can, or usually are going to be comfortable asking questions about, but I'm bringing them up because they're necessary. The type of server that you host your website on is critical. Is it a GoDaddy server? Is it Amazon Web Services? Is it a WP Engine server? Is it a host monster server? There's all of these different kinds of servers, and the quality of the server, the speed of the server, the security of the server, the functionality, the support, the maintenance, the updates, the code behind the server. Is it a PHP 6 or PHP 7? Those things matter. And I know they're not in your list of things you're asking when you're going to, a web company and trying to get the infrastructure right, but they're really important. So making sure that you're on one of the best servers in the industry, making sure that you have the most advanced technology and that it's compliant and it's cohesive with current standards. It is PHP 7. That the software is accurate. All of these things are important. A lot of times I see dealers make, business owners in general, it doesn't matter who it is, they make real hasty decisions as far as their website and where it's hosted. They go with, what's the cheapest solution, or what have I seen on a commercial these days. But I don't know if you've ever done research on commercials on television and the negative reviews that are associated with them, but you want to be careful of those things because it doesn't mean it's the best because they're paying for a TV ad. All right. Security, that's next. You got to have a security expert on the team. Your website needs to be secure. If you give me 100 HVAC websites right now, I bet you at least 60 to 80% of those sites are not secure at all. Not only is the server not secure, the forms on the site are not secure, the website's not secure. All of those things are violations of Google's compliance requirements for site safety. And consumers can see that. There's a giant link that it says, don't enter this site. It's not secure. It may be harmful. Don't put any information in the forms on this site. And it's so frequently avoided. Again, this starts by asking the wrong people to take care of these things, having the wrong motivation, looking for something cheap instead of something effective. So we have to be careful. Next is the code. What kind of code is it written in? And I know you don't want to drive into these, but that's important as well. Is it a complex code? Is it an ASP.NET framework? Is it something that's requiring licensing? Is it slow? Is it bloatware? Is it an open source framework? Do you own the code? Do you not own the code? Can you even own the code, or is it under the general public license? All of these things are important. What kind of a content management system are you on? Are you on Joomla or WordPress, the largest CMS system in the entire world? Are you on a proprietary software that's owned by your web company? Be very cautious of that. If the web company owns the software your site is built on and you decide you want to go somewhere else, what can you do with proprietary software? The answer is nothing. You can't move it. You can't transfer it. You don't own it. You don't want to, it's like renting a building. You know, this is, it's something you need to own. All right. Now, site structure. How the website is structured is critically important. This will come more into play as we keep going. The design of the site, that's visible, something you can see. Design actually can help you or hurt you, or it can play no role in the overall of anything. What kind of plugins are you guys adding? What kind of widgets are you adding? What kind of third-party applications are you adding? Recently, we had a client that submitted a third-party application. I want to say it was mHelp or Pulse or something like that. And the second we installed the application, somebody sold him on this software. He signed up for the software. We installed it on the site. We said we didn't think this was a good idea. After the software was on his site, in less than 60 days, there was a manual review by Google that said there were errors in the software code. You don't want to go under a manual review by Google. You've got to be careful. The reason you pay for a hosting and maintenance and support plan should be because you've got security experts and software experts that can evaluate this software and tell you whether or not the software is good or not. The challenge is, once you guys have invested, or once an entrepreneur is invested in some kind of software, they don't care to hear, because they already paid for the first month or whatever it is, they already bought it, whether or not the software is going to hurt their overall website. If it's violating Google's requirements, if it's conflicting with other code on your website, all of these things can cause major issues in your overall performance. You can actually buy a software and have it ruin your SEO results or ruin your rankings. There's a lot of external influences on whether or not the infrastructure is done right. It might be your past, might be that you have negative experiences and so you're really guarded and you don't want to invest in things that are necessary. It might be your team or surroundings or influencers, people around you that are giving you bad insights. Same thing with manufacturers. The reason that we work with Goodman and Amana and Daikin, because they believe in making sure that you have the right infrastructure in place in order to grow the business. Is they're not just getting the cheapest version of a website out there that could potentially harm your overall brand or reputation on the internet. It could hurt and not actually drive new business. They're making sure that you have the right infrastructure in place. And as an entrepreneur, talking to entrepreneurs, that's important to me, is I want to make sure that you guys are putting systems in place that are effective and that do help you make progress. Technically, if the right technology is in place, the only real things that can hurt it is competitors, yourself, other vendors, and so forth. Depends on what you attach to it. Next is vendors, industry associations. I've sat in audiences where I've heard people on the panel say, oh, this is the best review system because it allows you to delete the reviews that are not good. That's not good advice. It's not even legal in Google's world. And so it's not compliant. You can't modify authentic reviews and remove the ones that you don't like. It doesn't work like that. You have to be proactive and positive and trying to be focused on generating positive reviews versus trying to manipulate reviews for your best interest. Um, Next, the coding behind it, technology, search engines, hackers, competitors, other devices. As technology grows and other devices come into play, all of these things are going to change. All of these things are going to evolve over time, and you've got to be ready to move with that flow. Technically, the way this works is your website is essentially just like a brick and mortar store. It's the walls, it's the floor, it's the concrete, it's the roof, it's the doors, it's the windows, it's the entry, it's compliant. Is it safe? Is it current? Is it maintained? Is it comfortable? Is it easy to get in and out of? Are there multiple ways that consumers can get in? Your website by itself is that store. It's the frame. It doesn't mean there's any products and services in it. It's just a framework of a store. And the infrastructure, what kind of security does it have attached to it? How is it being maintained? How is it being supported? How is it being making sure that it's compliant with requirements? All of these things matter. And a lot of times this infrastructure can cause one of the big issues when it comes to everything else not working because the framework of the store is not compliant or not safe or not maintained and so forth. And usually that comes from looking for the simple way or cheap way out, or what you're familiar with is what you're comfortable with, which might be that ad on television telling you should do something specific. When it comes to building the framework of your website, there's different routes you guys could go, right? You could rent a site, and in some situations, renting a site makes sense. If you are a one-person shop, a two-person shop, you don't have a ton of extra cash at the moment, owning a website means nothing, because when you first start your website, technically you work for your website. Your website, without a good, strong marketing plan, without content, without all these things, it's not going to be ranking on page 1 of Google. It's not going to be generating new business for you. If you just buy a website, first time ever, first website off the ground, spending a ton of money on a website out of the gate makes absolutely no sense for an entrepreneur unless you've got cash from family or it's growing on your backyard next to the oranges. It doesn't make sense because you have other things you need to invest in order to get the website and your domain to get some time online, to get that domain to get some history, to get your website address to start growing in the search engines. So if you are in more of the infant stages of building your business, renting a website, spend $100 a month and rent it, especially if it's designed for your industry. If it's an HVAC marketing website and you can rent it out of the gate for $100 a month, call it a day. Use the cash that you have on other things that are going to help the website grow, become stronger, be more visible in the overall marketing, or buy a template if you are very serious about purchasing a website, you've saved up a little bit of money, spend $1,500, go through some templates on HVAC marketing websites and find something that's going to make sense for you. And then again, take extra cash that you have and use it on marketing, is getting that website up to page 1 of Google, getting it to where you're visible for the things you want to sell. Don't burn a lot of cash when cash is not widely available as a first-time business owner or just kicking off a business, just getting started. You guys get the site live as fast as possible. Choose something that you like, and technically the things don't last very long anyway. It's going to have to be replaced. It's going to have to be refreshed. It's going to have to be updated. So go with something that makes sense today, get it to move, and then add to it over time. Building a custom site, if you already have a custom site, if you're a larger dealer and you've got a strong marketing program, you've been doing SEO, you've got AdWords running, you've got a good local presence, you have a lot of things going on, then yes, spending $5,000 plus on a custom website, having a longer process of creating the design process and everything else and really customizing it to your brand to make sure that you stand out in your industry. If your website's already ranking on page 1 of Google, if you're already sitting at the top of Google, if you have made the progress in your business to where you already are an option for many phrases, services you want to sell in cities you want to sell it, then absolutely you should start with a custom site. You should have the cash to be able to invest in that, put a budget aside. So every 2 years, again, you're bringing that website up to current requirements in technology. You're staying on point. You don't ever want the website or the infrastructure to be behind as far as the code, technology requirements, search engine requirements, the framework. Things change too fast, way too fast. Right now, everyone in the web industry and you guys as consumers of websites, of business owners with websites, you have another major change. Google has just modified schematic markup to remove the reviews from showing in the search engine results pages. That is huge. I've talked for the last 2 years about schema markup and reviews showing on the bottom of SERP pages, and coding a website so that schematic markup showcases those reviews, and Google's already made the announcements it's going to be removing that. I said continuously that this is a short-term competitive advantage if you jump on this bandwagon. Every one of those dealers that jumped on the bandwagon 2 and 3 years ago, they've made out like fat rats, getting a higher percentage of the overall conversions and really rolling in those leads and opportunities when they were sitting on page 1 of Google with the rankings, especially in a custom site. Now, Google's about to level the playing field again. All bets off. Everything starts back at square one. When Google levels a playing field, it allows a smaller company just getting started to compete with the larger company that's been in business and has a significant amount of business. And as long as the site looks as clean and as substantial, boom, consumers can't tell the difference if you're a small company or a big company. So while not everybody likes to hear that Google's requirements are changing and that code is changing and WordPress is updating and PHP is updating all these things, it does cause the industry to recalibrate and set itself even again and then have to work towards something different. So another element behind all of this is there's some logic in all of these technical pieces. If you're missing your robots.txt file, if you don't have that, then essentially your website says, I'm not here to Google. Don't come crawl this site. This is a sign that gets held up on a website to Google and says, hey, come crawl my site. Your XML sitemap, what this is a roadmap that shows any consumers that come to your site, these are all the pages you should come and look at. So this essentially says, we're open, come crawl my site. This says, here's all the pages you're allowed to crawl. This is what we do. Now, when we get into the technical elements of websites, there's always pros and cons, and we have to be very, very careful. Google page load or page speed time. This is a tough one. Don't get too caught up in this. If you have a little 5-page GoDaddy website, you're probably doing less than $200,000 per year, maybe $250,000 per year in annual sales. You've got a fast website. That thing loads so fast. It's amazing. You're going to have 100-page load speed because this site has nothing on it. There's no content. There's no rankings. People can't find it. If you go to the site, it grades perfect on a page test or on a speed test, but don't get too caught up in that. There's pros and cons of page speed. So is it important? The answer is yes, but it's not important to lose or to scale back the site so you don't have the right content, you don't have the right framework, you don't have the right rankings. You don't want to ruin your marketing in order to make your site load fast. If that's the goal, buy a GoDaddy website, buy a web.com website, buy a Wix website, and you can get that thing to load really, really fast, but getting it to rank on Google, totally different infrastructure or totally different case. So be careful that you look at everything as how does it impact everything else, and that you don't get stuck in, I just want to get fixated on page speed, because scrapping everything that works, scrapping your conversion tools, scrapping any third-party integrations, removing your sliders, getting rid of images, getting rid of galleries, removing video, all of these things can absolutely make your site load faster. But what are you losing? You're reducing your conversion ratios, you're reducing your website ranking, you're reducing your time on page, all of these things that those other tools give you. So be very, very careful that you're not looking for perfection. You can make incremental small changes in paid load speed, but make them carefully. Don't get bundled in. Salespeople are going to come to you and they're going to try and find something wrong. And if that's the thing they stick to, having some logic as far as does it make sense or not, that's going to be important. Next, errors. You're always going to have errors. Sites change. You might have links to third-party sites and they take something down and it causes a broken link. You might have a compliance error. It might be a server error. Whatever maintenance program you're on needs to address the fact that your hosting and maintenance and support team is constantly evaluating and has some budget of resources set aside to always be working on fixing errors and broken links and any other challenges or issues with the website. They should be running reports on a quarterly basis, evaluating where those errors are, making fixes on a regular basis. They just have to prioritize. There's so many different pieces of your website and your server and the code behind it and everything else, all of the plugins. They've got to prioritize every single one of those and every single month be working on different elements. That's important. When you're talking about buying a hosting program, not the greatest strategy. Buying a hosting, maintenance, security, backup, and support program, that makes more sense. This is your infrastructure. Everything else crumbles if it's not strong. Essentially, that's the infrastructure as we drill in. I'm going to dive into content. Now we're talking about the guts of your store. So if your website, the framework, and your server, if that's the infrastructure of the store, what are we going to put inside of it? Your content strategy is next. What do you want to sell? So first off, you want to sell yourself, your own brand. You want to sell the fact that you hire certain kinds of resources, that you have certain kind of jobs. So having content for your air conditioner installation, your HVAC jobs page, your sales page, your CSRs, and so forth. This is covering the infrastructure of your website. If you have a store and it's empty, what can you sell? If you have a store and that store can be found if somebody knows the name of it, if they search for the name of your store, i.e. your business, can they find you? If they want to come work for a company like yours, can they find you? So these are the first two. Then we get into what do you want to sell? If you think of Google like a giant filing cabinet, every single page inside your store, i.e. website, gives you the ability to get sorted in a different catalog. So if you want to get found for your name has to be represented on your site as a page. If you want to get found for each of the individual job titles you might be hiring over time, and technically you should be collecting resumes 365 days a year, do you have those job descriptions and a job board on your site? What do you want to sell? By service, AC installation, AC repair, AC maintenance, AC tune-up, AC replacement, air conditioner installation, air conditioner maintenance. All of these different services is technically what consumers are looking for. Do you have one page per service? If you go to HVACmarketingwebsites.com, there's a link in the top right corner called onboarding. That will give you a good infrastructure for what the service options should be for your site. Next is, where do you want to serve? Consumers, when it comes to digital, search near me or by city, not by zip code. If somebody is telling you by zip code, that means they're an old school marketer that's done traditional advertising, media, print, or paper, and they're thinking by zip code. Digital is different. It doesn't work the same way. So you want to think by city and nearby or near me. Those are very important. Do you have one page per city? And does the city page look like you're, selling a chamber of commerce, or does it look like you're selling air conditioning and heating services in blank city, blank state? That's important. By promotion, consumers are looking for the best promotions, discounts on maintenance and service and tune-ups and financing and everything else. Do you have that content? By specialty. So maybe you're in Denver and you do, or maybe you're in California and you do wine cellar air conditioning installation or humidification or dehumidification in another city. Maybe it's dispensaries in Denver. Maybe it's hospitals in Seattle, or Houston. Maybe it's airports in Seattle. What kind of specialty services do you guys provide? Do you do houseboat air conditioner installation, houseboat heater installation? So there's lots of different specialties where consumers are looking for something specific. Maybe it might be a mobile home or an RV or wherever. There's lots of different specialties, so really thinking those. By implementation style, so it might be a man cave, it might be an attic, it might be a garage, it might be a tiny house. Drilling into press releases, by product, by manufacturer brand, by urgency, by demographics, by psychographics. All of these are critical to your content strategy, and if you nailed everything on this list, you're probably a 20-year-old business that's been really focused on marketing for a very long time, and you've become a content creator. You're building an infrastructure of permanent content to help you grow. Most companies are struggling just having content that supports their brand, their services, and their cities. They're usually starting with just the first three, and we've got to work through all these other kinds of content as you get more advanced. These are just basic page content. But as you get more advanced, photography, video, blogs, FAQ, press releases, infographics, checklists, quiz, tests, comparisons, DIY guides, before and afters, case studies, white papers, ebooks, all of these assets give the ability to market your company, to publish content that can show that you're an authority in your industry. It is your voice of your business. It is the single permanent digital asset that other people connect to, link to, search for, find, use, share. This is effectively your voice. If you stop talking, you stop selling. If you never start talking, you never start selling. So we've really got to nail down this content strategy. Your website is your store. Your content are the products and services. It's your voice in the industry. And as we drive into marketing, that is the vehicle in which you take all of these great things and you make them popular so other people can find them. When it comes to your strategy for content, first is we've got to figure out what works. So adding pages, 1 page per service you want to sell, product you want to sell, city you want to sell it, 1 page per specialty, per demographic, per consumer need, per urgency level. Every one of those, this is going to give you the ability to go to market quickly. There is a difference between a company that has a 20-page site who might be doing $250,000 per year and a company who has a 1,000-page site who might be doing $10 million a year. Depends on quality. Obviously, that makes a difference. But the number of pages you have on your website directly connects to how much you're doing, where those pages rank. That connects to truly what the volume of business is or opportunity you may have, and what your reputation looks like. On top of that is how many conversions you have. And that's conversions to contact your CSRs and so forth. How well your CSRs are trained to convert, that's how much money you're making. All right, next, once we add the pages, making sure we watch the rank. We need to modify or optimize those pages to determine where are they going to rank without content. So taking a kind of down and dirty approach, let's get these pages up, let's optimize the pages, let's get the rankings tracked, and let's figure out what pages are going to rank the fastest, and then start getting content prepared, start writing content, creating content, building content on those pages. Then we start building links to promote those pages and get those pages to move up in the rankings, and then essentially the time that's necessary depending on your competition. What are they bringing to the table compared to what are you bringing into the table? That's going to say how long it's going to be able to take in order to get it done. This should be a life cycle, a timeline of progress, something that you do constantly, that you never stop doing. Add pages, optimize them, watch the rank, add content, build links, monitor over time, add more pages, watch the rank, add more content, build more links, watch the progress over time. Every single page on your website is identifying a product or service you want to sell. One page up in one particular location is going to give you the best results. If you focus on air conditioner installation in Shafter, California, air conditioner ductless AC installation in Ferndale, Washington, whatever the location is, implement that single page, optimize it, market the heck out of it, and watch it grow. When that page gets to page 1 of Google, your phones ring. Every single page you put on a website gets shoved in one of these drawers. Where it lands in the drawers, how popular it is going to help you either be an option or not. So if you don't have a website, obviously we know what that means. You need to go find business on your own. You need to generate referral business. If you do have a website, but you don't have great content, then again, you still have to go get business on your own. If you have a website and you have content, it's going to be ranked in one of these drawers, probably lower in the drawer, which means you still have to go get your business yourself. You still have to go get referral business. Because if the page on your website is not sitting on page 1 of Google, then consumers won't see it. So they only are going to buy what they can find. I hope this is making sense. All right, that's content. Website, server, security, backups, infrastructure. Content, that's your products and services and your voice. Now let's talk about bringing this up so we're still underwater at this point. You're not above water. Website is not going to put you above water. Content, it's not going to put you above water. Marketing is when you're going to start moving up and you're getting closer to where consumers can see you. Visibility is when they can see you. They'll be able to see some of what you do, probably not all, because not every service, not every page, not every location has the same amount of competition. So some are going to be above the top. You're still working on some others' visibility. Some pages are going to be generating phone calls. Some are going to be below the ocean and they're not going to see it. It's below the line. And this is always going to be like this. You always want to have 50% or more of your website ranking on page 1, and you always want to be working on the next 50%. If 100% of your website is on page 1 of Google and is visible above the waterline, then you are going to plateau. Your business is going to stall out, whatever your current opportunity is. So if I've got boats coming by and they can only see what's above the water, if 100% of my pages on my website are above the water, that's all the opportunities you have available. It means it will plateau, it will flatline. When we go to town and we get 100% of a website on page 1 of Google, or 95%, 92%, 98%, the overall rankings, traffic, conversions, everything plateaus because there's nothing new. So you've got to make sure that process I talked about earlier, what's working, do more of it. What's not working, reallocate to something else. And what's next? You don't always want to be focused on just the existing list. It can't be perfect. You don't want it perfect. If it's perfect, you're not growing. We've got to find out what's the other half we need to be able to drive. All right, let's drill into the marketing piece. Marketing is essentially the rest of the 12 steps. On-page search engine optimization, off-page, link building, citations, local listings, local directories, social networking, engagement, review sites, reputation sites, AdWords, paid advertising, all of these things. There are hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of websites that you can get ranked on that are going to help you grow. Each one of those is going to help improve different ranks or different algorithm. There's hundreds and hundreds of different ranking systems that evaluate you, your website, your business, your listings on the internet to see how well you're doing. So if all of this was good across the site, that means you have no room for improvement. That means whatever you have is what you get. That's all the opportunity. The only thing that can change the opportunity or modifying that pipeline is a natural disaster, is a storm, is an entire new community going into a particular area. As everyone moves out, lots of people move in, lots of home inspectors say site systems are old, water damage. I mean, it's got to be something. So You're always going to be working on these. You're always going to be working on your social metrics. You're always going to be working on SEO, your Google business listings, reputation, your local listings, your rank checker, your links, and the authority of your links and the popularity of your links. Okay, next, page rank. Essentially what Google is, and let me back up, I'm sorry, trust rank. This is essentially a popular method for improving rankings is to increase the perceived importance of documents through complex linking schemes. Google's PageRank and other search engine algorithms have been subject to manipulation, so trust rank is really to make sure that spam and black hat SEO can't take place. This is to make sure that the popularity of your website is real, that it's true, that it's not all bot. So you actually have to have a level of trust through consumer endorsements, consumer engagements. Your content has to be good enough that people are going to share it, they're going to reference it, they're going to link back to it. Your trust rank says, I don't care what you say about yourself. That doesn't matter. You can't tell Google how great you are. Other trusted sources have to do that, and that's what trust rank is. PageRank. PageRank works by counting the number of quality links to a page and determining a rough estimate of how important the website is. The underlying assumption is that important websites are likely to receive more links from other websites. So essentially, if you don't have a social media strategy, if you're not participating in forums, if you're not requesting links, if you don't have a press release strategy, if you don't have a media interview strategy, if you're not posting content that you can have as competitor profiles, if you're not baiting for links, trying to get people to link back to you by creating engaging tools, creating engaging video, creating engaging or popular infographics, if you're not getting listed in directories, social media sites, citation sites, Google's not going to believe your site is important. If no one points back to your site of any relevance, why would Google put you on top if somebody else does what you do and lots of other people like them? That's essentially what PageRank is geared towards. And it doesn't just work once. This is not something you can invest in SEO one time and poof, you're going to be first on the list, because you have marketing agencies and companies that are constantly generating new assets and new content and links in order to be able to continue to move up the search engines. EdgeRank has the same thing. EdgeRank is the same kind of an algorithm, but it's from Facebook. This is an algorithm that essentially determines your affinity score between the viewing users and the content that you produce. If you produce content and no one likes it or shares it or participates, then it's not going to be seen as frequently. The weight of each kind of interaction, whether it's you creating content, it's a comment, a like, or a tag, how long the content has been out there compared to the engagement that's been on there. Every single thing that we do online, there's something evaluating it within an algorithm that's saying whether or not it's critical, important, popular, how popular it is, how frequently the content should be seen, and it all requires third-party endorsements. When it comes to citations and building citations, you'll see this is one of our clients' reports, and what we're looking at is what are the top citations they can get listed on. How many active citations? So right now they have 93 citations, 0 pending. We don't have any in the works for them right now, but we've identified a list of another 189 citations. So every single week or month, depending on the plan, we're constantly looking at how can we get them listed in other sites. Every single citation or site or third-party application has an authority ranking. How popular is that site? So just like you and your friends at school, if you hung out with the most popular friends at school or the least popular, there may be a perception from the outside in on you. Google's the same way. So Google's identifying the popularity or authority rank for each one of the sites. So Google has a 95 out of 100. If you're listed on Google, that is one of the highest directory listings that you can possibly get listed on. All of these other sites, sometimes you can have a heavier weight because the site is a niche site, such as an HVAC directory listing or CIHVAC or NHVAC or Goodman's Dealer Locator or Amana's Dealer Locator and so forth. Those are niche sites, so they might have a lower citation authority but a higher value. So each one of these sites, we're constantly evaluating. So what we come to the table with right now, the way I explain it to our team is we always have to be looking at, show me what you're working with. I got to see what you have right now. What are you working with today? And then the list always have to be what's next, what's next, what's next. We have to go after additional potential citations or potential directories or potential links, listings. Some are free, some are paid. Some cost $5, some cost $25,000. It depends on what kind of a website you're getting ranked in, or you're getting listed in. But the biggest thing is you want to show progress. As you become a bigger company and you have a larger budget to go after getting listed in a major news application, or you do something so substantial that you get listed in local news sites or media sites, or you're paying for advertising in a bigger application that has a higher authority rank, then your sites can be worth more. But when it comes down to it in the very beginning, you probably won't have the budget to get listed in the highest sites or highest ranked sites outside of the traditional Google and YouTube and Facebook, more of your social media sites. When we're drilling into the potential sites, every one of them we're looking at is, do you have a ranking on there? What's the authority ranking of the site? So just giving you out of the gate some citation authorities and kind of the ranking as far as the overall value. What kind of a website is this citation? YouTube, LinkedIn, FeedBurner, Bing, Bloomberg, Instagram, WordPress, Houzz, Indeed, Glassdoor, Groupon, Dot, all of these different sites. This is ranking the potential site citations that we've outlined as the next batch we're going to be working on for this particular client. Every one of them has a ranking. These have to be sorted in authority, highest to lowest. And out of 199, the highest starting off right out of the gate is going to be YouTube. All right. Next is going to be AI devices. That presents an entirely different world of influencers. I'm sitting here at the Alara in Vegas, and the entire room is set up on Google. So if I say, hey Google, open the blinds, or hey Google, turn on the projector, or hey Google, turn down the bedroom, or hey Google, call room service. I had to turn her off because she was talking the whole time, but she's going to do whatever I ask. And all of these AI devices, whether it's Siri or Google or Alexa or your watch, or Alexa is just launching a new site a new application, a new device, which is a Ring called Echo Loop. It's by invitation only. You can literally ask your Ring to set you an appointment, find an HVAC company with the best reviews in Las Vegas, Nevada. You can ask your Ring anything and it will book those appointments for you. And it will add it to your calendar, and it will set you a reminder, and it will pay the vendor. Where we're headed right now is literally you can talk to your hand. That used to be a negative connotation. Talk to the hand, and you can find an HVAC company with the best reviews, ask to book an appointment, schedule it, put it on your calendar, set a reminder, and approve payment via Google Pay, all in one shot. So where we're headed versus where we are, we need to move a little bit faster as entrepreneurs so we can meet consumers where they are and make sure no matter what devices they're using that we are found. This is part of the marketing elements, also noted as AI. When it comes to your marketing, and this is a little difficult to see this slide, I'd be happy to share this spreadsheet with you. Our team within the 12-step roadmap is constantly identifying what are the resources you need to accomplish all 12 steps, 12 stages of the 12-step roadmap. What are the software and or technologies that are available within that? And we're evaluating out of the 300 different local marketing softwares or link building softwares or SEO applications or rank checking applications or compliance or audits or everything else. What are all the applications? That's kind of the benefit of working with an agency is there's 3,000 softwares you could choose from, and not all of them are created equal. We are constantly evaluating all the different kind of review systems, which ones are good, why. We're doing evaluations, and we move from system to system as it's necessary. The difference in working with an agency is we have hundreds of accounts on a particular software. You're just one user with one location, one subscription. It's going to cost you substantially more in software cost. So if you go buy a license to ReviewBuzz or Nearby Now, your license price is going to be for one single user. And then you're going to have resources on top of that that know how to use the software, learn how to use it, learn how to maximize it, learn how to integrate it with your website, learn how to make sure that the code is secure and doesn't conflict with anything else. You're going to have all these different resources. So the challenge is when you are doing all of this in-house, your cost of software goes way, way, way up. Then you need cost of resources, that goes way up. Whereas when you work with an agency, they've done the research for you. They know what the best tools are in the industry at that particular given time, and things do change. They should not stay with the same software, and everything should not be proprietary software. You're going to have to use 30, 40, 50 different pieces of software to accomplish these things. You want it to be the best of the best, and you want whoever's building the software to specialize in that. An agency's job is to find the best software, to get bulk discounts because they have a lot of customers, it's a bigger agency, and to make sure that they have the resources who specialize in using the software, integrating it, and so forth. So just when you're thinking about it, I've met with a lot of companies that have internal marketing teams, and when I go through their Amex reports of everything they're spending money on, they are burning cash on software expenses, where if they just signed up under an agency, it'd reduce it by 75% or more. So something to consider. Same thing with resources. I've sat down with companies and they hire 2 marketing people, and they expect that marketing person or the single marketing person to be able to do all of the things inside the 12-step roadmap. That is not fair, I'll say, nor is it reality. Essentially, for each one of the 12 steps, 12 stages, you guys need 10% of a designer, a developer, a project manager, a database architect, a website administrator, an auditor, a technical support person, a server engineer, security expert. You need someone who knows object-oriented database coding. You need a trainer. You need a content transfer person, a branding expert, a writer, a photographer, content strategist, copywriter, auditor, account managers. We can keep going. A branding expert, a CRO or conversion rate optimization strategist, programmers. You need a full-stack developer. All of these different kind of people. I mean, we have 100+ employees in our company, and we don't have one single person who can do everything. I have one person who's very close, actually 2, who's very close. But I'm telling you, it's 1 in 1,000 who can code, knows security, knows technology, knows marketing. Our chief marketing officer is the only human being that I know, Chris Heaney, who happens to have the talent to understand everything from branding and design to technical to content to conversion rate strategies to everything inside of here. You guys, this is part of that same spreadsheet. If you want a copy of this spreadsheet and this PowerPoint presentation, I'll make sure you have a place to text that to, and you'll get a copy as well. All right, so back to the Glacier. So far, we have the infrastructure, we have content, we've got some kind of a marketing. You're not going to do all of this at once. Just piecemeal it. Get pieces. Start with the little and then add. Start with the little and then add. Start with the little and then add. Don't keep starting over at infrastructure over and over and over again. Get this down, get it right. Be on a plan to revamp it and keep it updated. Same thing with content. Never stop. There's no, all you need is 10 pages. This should never stop being part of your strategy. Never stop talking, never stop creating content. Marketing, you're going to be able to add a little bit as you go. If you have an extra $100 a month, add it to your marketing budget. If you have another extra 100, add it to your marketing budget. If you stop changing your marketing budget, if you stop doing more of what's next, stop doing more of what works, you're going to flatline. You're going to grow, you're going to hire, you're going to be all excited, and then you're going to plateau, and everything's going to stop. Visibility, we talked a little bit about this. This is where we are now. 50% of who we are and what we are is over the water level. People can see it. We're making some money. We got pages ranked on page 1 of Google. If somebody searched for our company name, they can find us. Now it's a matter of continuing to build the visibility. Is that 50% that's below the water that no one can see? We keep working on that. We keep adding more. We keep identifying what else can we take to market. We're constantly going to be dealing with all of these different things right now in this visibility area. This isn't, okay, I'm on page 1, hands up, woohoo, just ride that wave. This is, We constantly have to be working on the Google search algorithm, understanding how paid advertising and your strategy on paid advertising may change. Right now, Google is, just in the last year, the new changes in the paid advertising environment, I've looked at campaign after campaign after campaign where people are literally competing with themselves and driving up ad prices because Google is now showing all the variations. So if you say AC repair, Google's also calculating clicks for air conditioner repair, air conditioning repair, air conditioning service repair, air conditioning system repair, air conditioning equipment repair. So if you have multiple campaigns and in one campaign you have air conditioner system repair and in another campaign you have AC repair, technically you're bidding against yourself. And so there's lots of different things that are modifications. It constantly has to be reevaluated. Right now, we're rescaffolding all of our pay-per-click campaigns to deal with the many search changes that have occurred recently. Some of the changes are positive, and then some of them are not. So we're literally having to put negative key phrases in you would never think would be negative key phrase, but they are because of the way the algorithm works now. It is what it is. Google Maps, Google Business, the modifications to Google Schema, that's changed everything. We got to redo all of that. Organic search rankings are going to no longer be showcasing those self-serving reviews or the schema reviews underneath search results. That's a huge change. Just got an announcement from Google. Hasn't fully rolled out yet as of today, but it will be soon. We're getting notifications from Nearby Now and all of the software companies that have boasted or benefited from being able to, or showed value from being able to showcase those SERP results, the stars in the SERP results. That's changing, so we have to rethink that. Directory rankings are changing, citation rankings are changing, local listings, your overall footprint, your brand domination. We've got a lot of clients that get found for competitor names and have noticed very quickly in listening to all their calls that their CSRs are not ready to convert competitor calls. If somebody calls for ABC Heating and Air Conditioning, they're having a panic attack and saying, that's not us, hanging up the phone. When in reality, they should say, well, we're not ABC Heating and Air Conditioning, but we are hot and cold heating and air conditioning. And let me tell you a little bit about us. We're missing. So we're always working on how do we deal with brand domination? How do we improve our CSRs? How do we deal with paid ads, whether it's Google list and service items, whether it's pay-per-click, pay-per-call? How are we repositioning ourselves and dealing with the markup changes? You guys, wildly important with the newest changes. You've got to have one landing page per campaign. Please do not send dealers or consumers to your homepage or your website unless you have to, because you're working on building a landing page. Please, please, please. Dynamic landing pages are what we're working on right now. We're done with the static landing pages. Having a dealer have to buy 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 campaign landing pages, that's gotten complicated. So now we have the ability to launch dynamic landing pages that change the content and the promotion and everything depending on what the search term was and what the ad or the campaign represented. These are all advancement strategies. Clicking on the maps, Google business listings, focus on showing up in the rankings. I keep talking about the SERP stars disappearing. That's what's going away right here. This would typically get the conversion. As these go away, it's going to level the playing field. We have to revamp and rethink how we optimize these sites to make them stand out. Making sure that reviews are not driving away customers because of a lack of reviews, no stars, 1 star, but making sure that we've got reviews on point. Bottom line is, when it comes to your progress or your status, technically, it just depends on who's better than you that day. So if your competitor has more, you lose. If your competitors stop improving, you're good to go. Then just get to the top and stay there. But as long as your competitors are doing more, if they've got 6,000 links and you've got 1,100, then you got work to do. It's not the agency or the marketing agency that's always required to take you to the next level. Sometimes it's you and the decisions you have to make in order to compete with the competitor who might be doing more down the street. It's a guy who's investing in additional strategies, or adding more links, or producing better content, or producing more content, or doing more SEO. All of these things, if your competitor does more, your agency does exactly what you subscribe to. Whatever you pay for, whatever's in your plan, is what your agency is doing. But if your competitors are doing more, no matter how good your agency is, you've got some challenges. So we're going to drill in conversions, final pages. We got to be able to convert, design, promotions, financing, making sure you understand your buyer personas and their avatars. Do you have an AI chatbot? Do you have text? Do you have click to call? Are you tracking your calls to improve your conversions? Do you have an online scheduling system, forms? Do you understand brand loyalty in your area? When it boils down to consumers, the way that they're searching is they look online, they Google it, they may or may not click the ads. They may or may not click the maps. They click on page 1 of Google. If the site looks bad, they go next. If it looks good, then they're trying to convert. Everyone likes different conversion tools. Most would rather text or chat with the bot than fill out a web form. But most HVAC companies have web forms. Depending on how your site is structured, it's going to determine if we're scaring clients away, or if we're bringing them in, if we're driving the conversion, or if we're pushing them away. With that, I know I'm 1 minute late and I'm sorry, but if you want a copy of this presentation, or you want to sign up for a strategy session, just text 411 to 877-839-1122. I'll send you the spreadsheet, which is our back office planning tool. We'll send you this presentation, and I know you're going to get a copy of the webinar as well. Okay, I'm all done. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. So just a couple quick reminders. As Jennifer mentioned, if you have any questions, go ahead and use your chat box. You will receive a follow-up email, and this is the part that Jennifer was mentioning. You will receive a follow-up email with a link to this recording. So if you'd like to refer back to it or share with someone who might be interested, it'll be in your email. It'll be the thank you for attending, or we're sorry we missed you, whichever might apply in your case from GoToWebinar. But in the body of that will be a link to the recording. And there is a post-webinar survey, so feel free to provide some feedback. And if you do leave the webinar and you think of questions, certainly reach out to Jennifer and her team, or you can always reach out to me at Goodman Webinars, Goodman Partners Network at goodmanmfg.com. I don't really know where my thought was going there, but anyway, Goodman Partners Network at goodmanmfg.com. And with that, Jennifer, thank you so much. Is there anything you'd like to say in closing today?
Thank you, and I'm sorry for going a minute over.
No worries. We always learn so much. So we appreciate your time today. And for everyone who took time out of your busy schedule, whether you're here live now or later on the recording, thank you so much as always. And we do look forward to talking to you on another webinar soon. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Bye-bye.